Arctic Fox by Stephen Person.
The chase is on, and the Arctic biologist Martin Loon watched as a group of geese led their young towards a lake. Martin looked around. He had a feeling that he wasn't the only one watching these birds. Suddenly he saw a flash of gray. It was an Arctic fox. The fox darted into the group of birds, snapping its jaws. Too young to fly away, the goslings scattered and swerved to avoid the attacker. The rest of the flock sprinted towards the nearest water at top speed, said Martin. Running as fast as he could, Martin followed the chase. The Arctic fox's speed helps it catch birds and other small animals. Arctic geese and other birds are an important food source for the Arctic foxes.
Living with foxes. Martin watched as the Arctic fox caught a few of the goslings. Then he saw the fox dig a hole and bury the dead birds. Hidden food supplies such as these are called catches. This fox will need many catches to survive the long, cold Arctic winter when there is little food available. Martin has been studying Arctic wildlife since 1990. Every summer he travels from his home in the Netherlands to the Arctic region. There he lives in Ny-Ålesund, Norway, the northernmost town in the world. This is a great place to study Arctic animals. In my town, there is a pair of foxes under my neighbor's house, Martin says. I see the young foxes every day in July and August. Martin Lunin lives in the Arctic during the summer. The Arctic fox is a very uncommon animal. It lives farther north than any other land mammal in the world.
A lot to learn. Martin has learned about Arctic foxes by studying the same ones year after year. Each July, he and a group of researchers carefully track the foxes. Every fox is weighed and given a name. A color tag is placed in each ear. The tags help Martin keep track of the foxes from year to year. He can learn where each animal has traveled and how he or she has grown. Martin is always discovering how smart and tough these foxes are. They have to be. In the Arctic, winter lasts for 8 months. Powerful snowstorms are common and temperatures can fall to negative 58 degrees or negative 50 degrees Celsius. How can any animal survive in climate like this? Martin tagging a young fox. Martin letting the fox go after tagging it. During much of the Arctic winter, the sun doesn't rise. It's dark 24 hours a day. In the area where Martin does his research, there are about 18 weeks each summer when the sun doesn't set at all.
Built for the cold. The Arctic fox survives in extreme cold because it has the warmest fur of any mammal in the world. Even the tips of its paws are covered in fur. The fur keeps the fox so warm that it usually sleeps right out in the open, it's, using its long bushy tail as a blanket. Sometimes the weather does get too cold even for an Arctic fox. When this happens, the animal digs a hole in the snow to escape the freezing wind. A fox does not need to do this often though. The Arctic fox is well adapted to the harsh winter, Martin says. The fox uses its long furry tail to help keep warm in the winter. The Arctic fox's nose and ears are short. Having ears and a nose close to its body helps it keep heat from escaping.
A fox of many colors. Martin is not as well adapted to the harsh winter as the Arctic fox. When temperatures start falling in September, he heads back home to the Netherlands. How does the Arctic fox prepare for the cold weather? It changes its fur. During the summer, a fox's coat is brown and gray and thin. In September, the fox's coat starts to grow thicker. Its color also changes. By November, the animal has very fluffy white fur to keep it warm. Then, at the end of winter, the fox sheds its fur and grows a darker, thinner summer coat. The fox's different coats come in handy when it's hunting. The winter fur blends in with the white snow. The brown and gray coat can't be seen against the rocks and dirt of summer. This camouflage allows the fox to sneak up on its prey all year round. An Arctic fox with its thick winter coat. An Arctic fox's coat between winter and summer. An Arctic fox with its thinner summer coat. By eating a lot at the end of summer, a fox can add several pounds of body fat. This fat, along with its fur, acts as insulation, keeping the fox's body warm during the winter.
Not picky eaters. Fox's fur may help it hunt, but it's still difficult for the animal to find prey. There's not much food in the Arctic. Foxes have to eat anything they can find, including berries, seaweed, and insects. During his research, Marin discovered that the fox is an expert predator. With one quick pounce, it snatches birds, fish, and lemmings. Foxes will even steal birds' eggs and hide them in catches. When there is no food nearby, they have to go looking for it. Biologists watch one fox travel as far as 1,400 miles or 2,253 kilometers in search of food. Arctic foxes use their strong sense of hearing and smell to find their prey beneath the snow. This fox heads to its catch with a goose egg. Arctic foxes are also scavengers; they eat dead reindeer, seals, and other large animals.
Family time. Martin has seen Arctic foxes work extra hard to find food when they're raising their young. Adult male and female foxes get ready to start families in March or April. They work together to clean out a den. Fox cubs are born in May or June. The parents have a litter of 7 to 15 cubs. Both parents take turns hunting for the small animals such as lemmings to feed their young. The parents have to catch as many as 100 lemmings a day to keep themselves and their hungry cubs alive. An Arctic fox den. Many dens have been used by different fox families for 300 years or more. Some large dens have as many as 100 entrances. An Arctic fox returns from a successful hunt.
A very short childhood. Adult foxes know that their young are helpless. Cubs are born blind and they depend on their parents for food. They are easy prey for predators such as golden eagles. After the cubs are born, the parents are usually very secretive and hide with the cubs in the den, explains Martin. When they're 1 month old, young foxes begin poking their heads out of the den. If they hear a parent bark suddenly, they know to jump back inside. The bark may be a warning that an eagle is nearby. After 2 months of having food brought to them by their parents, young foxes begin hunting. They have to learn quickly. When winter comes, they will move out of the den and have to survive on their own. Young foxes at the entrance of their den. Young foxes learning to hunt through play. Arctic fox parents stay together throughout their adult lives. They often use the same den year after year.
A world of danger. Winter is a very dangerous time for young and old Arctic foxes. For foxes, winter survival is so difficult, Martin says. Not only do they have to face the cold, but they have to watch out for predators such as wolves or polar bears. Foxes have to beware of people too. There is a lot of fur trapping in winter, says Martin. Trappers catch foxes for their thick white fur, which is used to make hats, mittens, and coats. Despite all the dangers, the population of this Arctic animal is not falling. As long as there is enough food, the number of foxes should stay strong. An Arctic wolf. Foxes are trapped in winter when their fur is the thickest. Arctic foxes' larger litters also help keep their population from falling.
No heat, please. Although the population is stable, Although the population is stable now, another danger looms ahead for the Arctic fox. The climate is changing and the Earth is slowly getting warmer. Scientists think temperatures will keep rising in the Arctic and around the world. This could be bad news for the Arctic fox. If the Arctic gets just a few degrees warmer, red foxes may start moving north. Red foxes usually live in warmer habits, but they could survive in the Arctic if temperatures rise there. These animals are twice as big as Arctic foxes, and they could take over the foxes' dens, hunting areas, and leave them hungry and homeless. Red foxes may even attack and kill Arctic foxes. The Arctic fox is perfectly adapted to life on ice and the snow. The higher temperatures in the Arctic are also a danger to polar bears. Polar bears. Bears live and hunt on ice. Climate is sea ice. Climate change is causing the ice to slowly melt. Red foxes are used to living in warmer habits.
The hardest time of all. Climate change may eventually be the biggest threat to the Arctic fox. For now, though, the end of winter is the most difficult time, says Martin. A fox's food catch is often empty by this point. Sometimes a fox has only one way to find food, snatching it from a polar bear. A hungry fox will creep up close to a huge polar bear. It waits and watches as the bear hunts for seals. Sometimes the bear will kill a seal and leave some meat behind. At other times, the fox will steal a bit of the bear's food as it eats. The fox will try to run away if the bear notices. If the fox is unlucky, it could become the bear's next meal. A hungry fox takes a huge risk following a polar bear for a free meal. Foxes are usually quicker than bears during short runs. Just how hard is it to survive in the Arctic? Arctic foxes live only about 3 years in the wild. In the safety of zoos, these same animals live for 10 years or more.
Outfoxing the Arctic. When the warmer weather returns, Martin moves back to the Arctic to continue his studies. He's always excited to see the new families of foxes. They are not afraid of people, he says. We see the cubs daily. They're beautiful and playful. The young cubs may be having fun. Another winter is on the way, however. The cubs have only a few months to learn how to live in one of the harshest habitats on Earth. What does Martin think is the most amazing fact about the Arctic fox? That's easy. It can survive the Arctic winter, he says. These cubs will soon face their first winter. The Arctic fox is a member of the canid family, which includes foxes, wolves, and dogs.